What is not death which can eternal lie, and with strange eons even death may die.
Hi, this is Hannu TheHande Mäkinen, and welcome to this little bonus video made from the scraps of the second half of the Dunwich Horror reading that we did with Richard Kaiser a little while ago. So, the second episode ran a little longer than we anticipated. The finished podcast was almost 2 hours long. We just barely managed to keep it under that. And in order to do that, I was having to edit the podcast recording quite aggressively. I was leaving out a lot of the dead air and a lot of little back and forths that we had. And unfortunately, a few discussions that we also had. Bits of it did survive into the finished podcast, but now, in this little bonus video, I decided to gather up all these scraps of different jokey, conversations and stuff that we did during the, a lot of the tomfoolery that we did in the original podcast recording, but just didn't make it. Honestly, in hindsight, as you can see from the running time, there wasn't actually that much that didn't make it into the final podcast. Of course, just for extra context, you might want to listen to the entire reading of the Dunwich Horror, otherwise none of this is going to make a lot of sense. But, anywho, I hope you still enjoy listening to this little bonus video, and Ania Cthulhu Fatagan to all. Oh, God. Hey, Stephen Lynch, that was the guy who did the Ugly Baby song.
Yeah.
But you know what, I actually listened to it after our podcast. I realized something. I was singing not the album version. I was singing the live version. He was really big during early YouTube days, and I think he kind of petered out around 2014. He hasn't done a lot since. So I don't know. Maybe. But I think that kind of happens with a lot of stand-up comedians. That's unfortunate. Yeah. Another person you don't hear a lot about. Do you remember the sound effects guy? The voices guy, the guy.
Police Academy one?
That's a deep cut. No. I'm talking about the guy who did the little tortilla boy, who was copying Don LaFontaine, the trailer voice guy's voice. He did the ultimate movie trailer with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which was the little tortilla boy.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's also a deep cut from years ago. Yeah, he hasn't done a lot since, but his whole bit was that he just did a lot of different celebrity voices. He was really good at it, but I don't think. I think that's another lost art, isn't it? You don't hear a lot of impressionists anymore, do you?
No, I'm afraid you do not.
Yeah, sorry.
That was a bad impersonation of you, honey. Sorry.
Yeah, we're feeling
we're
feeling old. We're feeling old here. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of
Lynch, you do a good
Lynch,
impersonation of me, though. Thankfully.
Yeah. Speaking of Lynch, sorry, this is turning into a long. Reeked aloud at what sprawled before them among disordered tables and overturned chairs. It was one of the Three Stooges. No. Professor Rice declares that he wholly lost consciousness for an instant. Though he did not stumble or fall. That's a hell of a trick. The thing that lay... Oh, sorry, side tangent. I gotta tell you this funny story. I've told you that I was in the army briefly, haven't I?
Maybe a long time ago.
Yeah. So, because we're a conscription country. I didn't finish my service, but I was in the army for a while. In the winter, which means that there was snow on the ground, so when we went to the woods, we would have to be on skis. And we had these gigantic backpacks on us that had all our, all of our gear, and then, assault rifles hanging from our necks. And we were on night patrol, and we'd been skiing all day. So you know what happens to guys when you've been skiing all day, and then you're on night patrol on skis?
Your legs give out on you.
No, you start nodding off. And let me tell you, when you nod off while wearing a big backpack and an assault rifle, there's a big sound that you let out when you fall. That was one of the things those are some of the funny things that you think, man, army sucked. Okay, moving.
I'm just got this vivid imagination of all this taking place all in the style of a Charlie Brown cartoon. You're in the army now, Charlie Brown.
Oh.
The long lost peanut short.
Okay. Oh, hey, I just remembered. Yeah. I'm having a little problem with the book slipping, but I remember that their arrangement was odd and seemed to follow the symmetries of some cosmic geometry unknown to Earth or the solar system. On each of the hips, deep and set in a kind of pinkish ciliated orbit, was what seemed to be a rudimentary eye. Okay, I gotta quickly. Sorry, we're putting a lot of side tangents here, but I actually did read about Wilbur Wrigley from like the Lovecraft Wikia or whatever it is, and it also mentioned the rudimentary eye, and I'm like, what the fuck is a rudimentary eye? That's a completely useless descriptor. It just says like it has an eye or something, but like a rudimentary eye, really? Okay.
I can look at what rudimentary means. I don't know what that means.
I mean, I know what
you know what that means?
I mean, I know what rudimentary means, but okay, sure. Do a Dr. Google real quick.
Okay. Involving or limit to basic principles.
Yeah, exactly. Rudimentary. Yeah, so but like I don't I don't know. I guess he just wanted. I guess Howard just really desperately wanted an adjective there. But it's funny to me that then it gets repeated in other descriptors, and it's a completely meaningless descriptor. That's my issue with it. Sorry. Wait. Okay, let's continue.
I'm just laughing at the second meaning, relating to an immature, undeveloped basic form. So let's quit it with our rudimentary behavior and continue on with the story.
Exactly. Whilst in lieu of a tail, there depended a kind of trunk or feeler. It'd been pounded down into the road, and the smell was awful. Like when it's around Wizard Whately's old house.
That's not very nice.
By the way, I haven't been commenting on the way that this, dialogue is written here, but house spelled Haouse. House.
House.
You want to know how to do the hillbilly accent? Just keep adding vowels. House. This reminds me of a really funny. It's a complete throwaway bit from GMM, but they said like narcissist is defined in the dictionary as the reply that a guy from the deep south gives when you ask, "Is that a mold?" Narcissist. Yeah. Okay. Here he faltered and seemed to shiver afresh with the fright that had sent him flying home. Yeah. Of skepticism, there was none. All three had seen the body of Wilbur Wrigley as it lay on the floor in a room of that very building, and after that, not one of them could feel even slightly inclined to treat the diary as madman's ravings. Opinions...
Nice, good Ozzy Osbourne album, by the way.
Hey, that's exactly what Ken said when we did the Mega Man Maker Monday 2 years ago. Wow. Yeah, he made a level for me that was called Flying High Again, so yeah. Opinions were divided after the notifying the Massachusetts State Police and the negative podcast regardless. Yeah, exactly. All right. So yeah, I guess I don't really have much else to add to this. I mean, I this was a long time coming. I really love that story. I really love all this Yog-Sothoth thing, and you could kind of tell like this was kind of Lovecraft at his most like refined. I think already at this point, like there are a lot of like great elements. There are some silly elements, definitely, but I think those just add to the fun of reading this story. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta really still wonder about, like, we still haven't done Color Out of Space, which is my favorite Lovecraft story, but that one's a bit dark and kind of sad, so I'm not sure, like, if we necessarily want to do that. I've half considered just live streaming a reading of that with me in the future, possibly. So that might happen at some point. But if you don't have anything else to add, I guess we will end this Unnamed Horror. Thank you for listening. If you are still